Hi everyone, Dr. Steph, and I'm back here with our final video in our series on the top 15 things that we feel contribute to type 2 diabetes and that we find clinically need to be tested for and addressed in order to help people really get a grip on this disease and get it into remission. The final thoughts are about pancreas and insulin resistance. And so, as a type 2 diabetic, you have insulin resistance. Now, you will have insulin resistance because of a couple different things. Either the pancreas is not able to secrete enough insulin, or more likely, in your particular case as a type 2 diabetic, you have insulin receptor dysfunction. And you may have insulin receptor dysfunction for any one of these other things in our previous videos that we talked about that can cause such an overabundance of sugar in the blood that it's not humanly possible for your pancreas to make enough insulin to get that sugar out of the blood and into the cells. So the cells can actually start to block and resist any more uptake of nutrients that is being pushed by insulin, so you start to become insulin resistant. You might be nutrient deficient, that eventually also causes abnormal functioning insulin receptors at the cell membrane, which then inhibits your ability to tolerate this blood sugar. So nutrient deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies, certain toxins can actually literally damage or impede or block insulin receptors, so that increases your insulin resistance, which means you are not able to use insulin as a way to get sugar into the cell. So much of this stuff is caused by all of these different things. But as a type 2 diabetic, one of the things that we find interesting is your ability to actually manufacture and secrete insulin is generally there. Over time, if you start to lose pancreas function and you're starting to become insulin dependent or more of a type 1, or maybe you're turning into a type 1.5, which is a combination between 1 and 2, which is your insulin resistance. One of the things that can happen is exposure to toxins like the genetically modified foods and the glyphosates and the herbicides and pesticides. Some of those chemicals and toxins that we have in our environment are known to actually inhibit pancreas secretion of insulin. But we can actually help with eliminating and detoxifying those chemicals from the system and getting pancreas back on track as far as functioning. Sometimes, if you are under attack, you become autoimmune and you're attacking your own pancreas, or you have some type of an infection process that is triggering an attack on your pancreas, that is ultimately what can cause you to become type 1. And type 1 is where you completely lose the pancreas function altogether. We find that is rarely the case in a type 2 diabetic. And if you have that going on, we have to figure out why. It could be, again, any one of these other things on this wheel. So there's lots of different things to look at. If you are a type 2 diabetic and you were put on insulin, you definitely want to be worked up and tested to make sure you don't have immune activity against the pancreas, worked up to make sure that you don't have high amounts of certain environmental toxins, mold toxins, chemicals that could be impeding your pancreas secretion of insulin as well as blocking your receptors. If that's the case, then that is what needs to be handled in order to reverse your diabetes. So once again, I hope you appreciate the complexity of this disease, all the different factors that should be looked at and addressed if necessary in order to help you reverse your disease. This has been fun putting this series together. I hope you've gotten a lot of good information and can really start to think with, like, where should we start asking our doctors to start testing and pushing as far as really helping us get to the bottom of reversing this disease.